and is presented by the Children's Theatre Company. In it you will see Miss Jones, Miss Walker, Mr. Gowdy, Mr. Jurgensen, Mr. Lund, Miss Ferrand, Mr. Drake, Mr. Osterberg, Miss Winters, and many others. Oh, thank you. There you go. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude, 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude, 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there, behind our mountain. The morning star always looks wonderful bright, just a minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Yeah, well, I better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way down over there is the railway station. The tracks run that way. Polish towns across the track, some Canuck families, and the Catholic Church. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street is the Presbyterian. Methodist and Unitarian down over there, and the Baptist is down in the hollow by the river. Now up here is the town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Brian once made a speech from these very steps here. Now along here is a row of stores. Hitching posts, horse blocks out in front of it. First automobile's going to come along in about 5 years. Belonged to Banker Cartwright, our richest citizen. Lives in the big White House up there on the hill. Yeah, there's the grocery store. And Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Everybody in town manages to look into these two stores at least once a day. Oh. Yes, and here's some scenery for those that think that they have to have scenery. Now, public school's over yonder. High school's still further over. 8:45 mornings, noontime, 3 o'clock afternoons. Whole town can hear the yelling and screaming coming from the schoolyard. This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. And this is the back door, and this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. Now, in those days, our newspaper come out twice a week, Grover's Corners Sentinel, and this is Editor Webb's house, and this is Mrs. Webb's garden, just the same as Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers, too. And right here is a big butternut tree. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody remarkable can ever come out of it, so far as we know. Here are these tombstones up in the cemetery there on the mountain, say 1670, 1689. There's Grovers and Cartwrights, Gibbses and Herseys, same names around here now. Well, as I said, it's just about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a cottage over by the tracks where a Polish mother just had twins, and at the Joe Crowell house where Joe Jr. is getting up so as to deliver the paper, and at the depot where Shorty Hoxton's is getting ready to flag down the 545 for Boston. Yeah. Naturally, out in the country all around, there's been lights on for some time with milking and so on, but town people sleep late. So, another day has begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that baby case. And here's his wife, coming downstairs to get breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. When they built a new hospital, they named it after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, long time ago as a matter of fact. She went out to visit her daughter, Rebecca, who married an insurance man from Canton, Ohio, and died there. Pneumonia. But the body was brought back here, and she's up there in the cemetery now, in with a whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys. She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church, right over there. Well, in our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. Yeah, here comes Mrs. Webb downstairs to get her breakfast, too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got that call about 1:30 this morning. And here comes Joe Crowell, Jr., delivering Mr. Webb's sentinel.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody's been sick, Doc.
Oh, just some twins born up in Foresttown.
Do you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster's getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
Well, I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course it's none of my business. But I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. I never think about it at all. Only like you said, it always tells me it's going to rain.
Well, what's it telling you today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Me ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Crowell, there. Joe's awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Boston Tech, and MIT, that is. Graduated head of his class there, too. It's all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. And then the war broke out. And he died in France. All that education for nothing.
Giddy up, Bessie! What's the matter with you today?
Here comes Howie Newsome delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howard.
Somebody sick?
Pair of twins over to Mrs. Gorslasky's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Yeah. Going to rain, Howard?
No. Fine day. That'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Oh, hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Going on 17.
Oh.
Bessie's all mixed up about the root ever since the Lockharts stopped taking their quart of milk every day. She keeps wanting to leave them a quart just the same. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Morning, Howard.
Morning, Miss Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Is it?
Yeah.
Seems like you're late today.
Yes, sir. Something went wrong with the separator.
Oh.
Don't know what 'twas.
Thanks.
Yeah. Doc?
Howard?
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Everything all right, friend?
Yeah, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming over at 11. I guess I know what it's about, too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Friend Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could get you to go away somewhere and take a rest.
Yeah.
Think it'd do you good. Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock. I declare, Fred, you've got to speak to George. Something seems to have come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. Can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Was he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you've been late for school.
Yeah.
George!
George, look sharp.
Yes, Paul.
Did you hear your mother calling you? I guess I'll go upstairs and get potty wicks.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, wash yourself good or I'll come up and do it myself. What dress shall I wear? Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night. He needs to sleep. I washed and ironed your blue gingham for your specials.
Mama, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Ew, Mom, don't you mind so many?
I'll come and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We got a factory in our town, too. Hear it? Makes blankets. The Cartwrights own it. And it brung them a fortune.
Children, now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Put away your book, Wally.
Aw, Oh, Ma, by 10 o'clock I've got to know all about Canada.
You know the rules as well as I do. No books at table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright, too. When I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents a week is enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Oh, Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She is more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradually.
Well, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then.
Mama, you know what I love most in the world? Do you? Money.
Oh, eat your breakfast.
Mama doesn't put down.
Walk fast, but you don't have to run. Chloe, pull up your pants for me. Stand up straight, Emily. Tell Miss Foster I send her my best congrats. Goodbye.
Bye.
What is the matter with you? Fight, that's all you do. Where did you come from? You don't belong to me, huh? Oh, well, don't be so scared. Nobody's gonna hurt you, huh? Oh, good morning, Myrtle. Good morning, Julia. How's your cold? Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know as I'd go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use. Have you tried singing over your voice? Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on the key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beans. Well, here, let me help you. Beans have been good this year. I've decided to put up 40 colts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I notice they're able to get them down all winter. Now, Myrtle, I got to tell you something, because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst. Why, Julia Gibbs. Oh, give me some more of those beans. Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday? No. Well, he called on me. First, I thought it was a patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs. And then, he wormed his way into my parlor. And Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I am sitting here. Why, Julia Gibbs. He's here. That old thing was so big I didn't know where to put it. I almost give it to Cousin Hester Wilcox. Well, you're going to take it, aren't you? I don't know. You don't know? $350? What's come over you? Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a real trip, why, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris. Friends. Oh, I don't know, sounds crazy, I suppose, but for years I've been promising myself that if we ever got the chance. How does the doctor feel about it? Well, I did beat about the bush a little. Said that if I got a legacy, oh, that's the way I put it, and they could take me somewhere. What did he say? Oh, you know how he is. Haven't had a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he says, might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years he makes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War. Oh, that's no treat for anybody, he says. Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Only Dr. Gibbs, being one of the greatest experts in the country, just makes him despair. It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. Oh, the times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush, tasting it all out like we was going to buy it. Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you'll get to see Paris all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life, before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk in English. And don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. And now we're going to skip a few hours. But first, we want some more information about the town. A kind of scientific account, you might say. So, I've asked Professor Willard of our State University to sketch in a few details of our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? Professor? May I introduce Professor Willard of our State University?
Thank you, sir.
A few brief notes. Thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners. Let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say that's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it, with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings, but all of that more recent, 200 or 300 million years old. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils, 2 miles out of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They can be seen in the museum at the university at any time. That is, any reasonable time. Should I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, precipitation?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few words on the history of man here.
Anthropological details. Yes, indeed. Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes. No evidence before the 10th century of this era. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration toward the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock for the most part. Since then, some Slav and Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor Willard?
Within the town limits, 2,640.
Oh, excuse me, Professor.
Oh, yes? Indeed.
Borislavsky.
Population, as of the moment, 2,642. The postal district brings in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant. On the McPherson gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'm sure we're all deeply obliged to you.
Not at all, sir. Not at
all. This way, Professor, if you please.
Thank you.
And thank you again. And now for the social and political report. Editor Webb. Mr. Webb?
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Oh. Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is the publisher and the editor of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local newspaper here. Mr. Webb.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkle of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% socialists, the rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, the rest indifferent.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me.
Uh-huh.
Little better behaved than most, probably a lot duller. But our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them, after graduating from high school, settle down right here to live, even after they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Mr. Webb a question about our town? Yes?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I wouldn't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands meet down at Ellery Greeno's stable and holler some. We got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right good for snake fight, you know. Always was.
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice?
Excuse me, could you come down here in the front where we can all hear you? Now, what was your question?
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is something terrible. It seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Well, then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all hung like everybody else for a way the diligent and sensible can rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom, but it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those who can't help themselves. And those who can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in those stores?
Well, ma'am, there ain't much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there's some girls who play piano in high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we've got a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the morning. And we all notice a good deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them. And we watch the change of the season. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, ma'am. There ain't much. Robinson Crusoe and the Bible, Handel's Largo, we all know that. Whistler's Mother. That's just about as far as we go.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Mr. Webb. And now we'll go back to the town. It's early afternoon, and all 2,642 have had their dinners and all the dishes been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town, bustling and humming coming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies over on Main Street, horses dozing at the hitching post. You all remember what that's like. Doc Gibbs is in his office tapping people and making them say, ah. And Mr. Webb's cutting his lawn over there. 1 man in 10 thinks it a privilege to push his own lawnmower. No, sir. It's later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school already.
I can't, Lois. I've got to go home and help my mother. I promise.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next minute you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly. I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Go out and play in the fields, young man. You've got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head. Nice when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Well, can you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how you can sit still that long. I guess you like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Yeah. Emily, what do you think? We might work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine. And then once in a while, you could give me a kind of hint or two about one of those algebra problems. I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just some little hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, George, you whistle to me and I'll give you some hints.
I guess you're just naturally bright, Emily.
I figure that it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, thanks. I better be getting out to the baseball field. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come and help me string these beans for the winter. George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, he's growing up. How old would George be?
I don't know.
Let's see. He must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today, and I was very good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Yes, of course you are. All my children have got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you yes. Now that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, I was. If I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town. Next to Mamie Cartwright.
Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Now, come along and bring that bowl with you.
Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you, that'll do. Now, we're going to have to interrupt again here. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. Now, there's some more things that we want to explore about this town. I think this would be a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Vermont for the marble, it's hard to say. And they asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. Of course, we're going to put in a copy of the New York Times and a copy of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellas discovered a way to paint all that reading matter with a kind of glue, silicate glue that'll make it keep 1,000, 2,000 years. We're putting in a copy of the Bible and the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. But What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it. And all we know about them is the names of the kings and some copies of wheat contracts and the contracts for the sale of slaves. Yet every night, all those families sat down to supper. The father come home from his work, and the smoke went up the chimney, same as here. Even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people is what we can piece together from the joking poems and the comedies that wrote to the theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this play put in the cornerstone, and people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us. More on the Treaty of Versailles, or the Lindbergh flight, or even the Apollo mission to the moon. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. Well, the deal is I'm going back. Good evening. You can hear the choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. The children are at home doing their schoolwork, and the day's running down like a tired clock.
Now look here, everybody! Music, come into the world to give pleasure. Softer. Softer. Shall we try it again? And remember, ladies, get it out of your heads that music is only good when it's loud. Get it out of your... You leave loudness to the Methodists. Even if you wanted to. Now again. Tenor? Everybody?
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Emily, could you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper! Oh, I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Kentucky.
What do you know?
Guess I better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily, and thanks.
Good night, John.
That's better. But it ain't no miracle. Now, before I forget it, how many of you will be able to come in Tuesday afternoon and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? Show your hands. Oh, that'll be fine. That'll be right nice. We'll do the same music we did at Jane Trowbridge's last month. Now we'll do Art Thou Weary? Art Thou Languid? The question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it pop.
Come down a minute.
Yes, Pop.
Oh, make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16, almost 17.
What do you want to do when school's over?
Well, you know, Pa. I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You be willing, will you, to get up early, milk and feed the stock, be able to hoe and hay all day long?
Sure I will. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, well, I was in my office today. I heard a funny sound. What do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. You see your mother getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. She just got tired of asking you. Just gave up and decided it'd be easier to do it herself. You eat her meals. You put on the clothes she keeps nice for you. Then you run off and play baseball like, well, she's some high-end girl we keep around the house, but then we don't like very much. Well, I knew all I had to do was call your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a present you give her. But, well, because you're getting older, I imagine there's a lot of things you find to do with it.
Thanks, Pop.
Let's see, tomorrow's your payday. Yeah, you can count on it. Probably Rebecca, if he'll see you, ought to have some more, too. Huh? Well, I wonder what could have happened to your mother. Choir practice never was late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
Well, I don't know why she's in that old choir. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets this hour of the night. It's about time you retired, don't you think?
Yes, Papa.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Thornton. I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know he'll want to put it in the paper.
Thank you.
My, it's late.
Good night, Martha.
Real nice choir practice, wasn't it?
Oh, Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will ya? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it in front of those others. But now we're alone. Oh, really? I think it's the worst scandal that ever was in this town. Whoa, Simon Stimson.
Now, Llewellyn.
But Julia, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year.
Llewellyn.
You know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Llewellyn, we all know about Mr. Stimson. We all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there at his job, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it. But it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have. It doesn't happen anywhere near so often. My, I hate to go to bed on a night like this. I'd better hurry. Those children will be sitting up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Good night, Marie.
Good night, Julia.
Good night, Murphy. Good night, Llewellyn.
Good night, Julia.
Can you get home safe, Llewellyn?
Oh, yes. Why, it's as bright as day. I could see Mr. Soames scowling at the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way those men folk carry on. Good night.
Good night, Llewellyn.
Oh, dear.
Well, we had a real good time.
You're late enough.
Oh, why, Frank, ain't it later than usual?
You stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Oh, Frank, don't be so grouchy. Come on out and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. No. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
What'd you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Oh, believe me, Frank, there is something to gossip about.
Oh, Simon Stimson fired on, was it?
Worst I've ever seen him. How'll that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people ain't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end. There's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Now, let's get in.
No, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
Well, what are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist.
Julia, there's no sense going over that again.
Oh, Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Oh, come on now, Julia. It's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch cold, huh? Well, I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped for a while anyway. No, start getting upstairs.
Oh, dear, there's always so many things to pick up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks her front door every night. All those people up that part of town do.
Well, they're all getting citified. That's a problem. They haven't got nothing fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You're always spoiling everything.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no room there. George, know what I think? Do you? I think maybe the moon's getting nearer, and soon there's gonna be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting near, the guys that sit up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they'd tell about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably.
9:30. Most of the lights are out of town. So, there's Constable Warren, checking a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Senator Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill. Evening, Mr. Webb. It's quite a moon. Yep.
All quiet tonight?
Simon Stimson's rolling round a little. I just saw his wife moving out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Most of the town settled down for the night, Simon. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along a ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Bill, if you see my boy smoking any cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. Leastways, not more than 2 or 3 a year.
I hope not. Good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it?
Yes. You haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself. But don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
George, I never told you about that letter Jane Crowfoot got from the minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this. It said, Jane Crowfoot, the Crowfoot Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends. You can go out and stretch your legs a little if you'd like. sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rain's brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before. I'm talking regular sentences already. And a number of people that thought themselves right young and spry have noticed they can't bound up a flight of steps the way they used to without their hearts fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways, too. A number of our young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountain got their way a few fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water gone by the mill, and here and there a new home was set up under a roof. Most everybody in the world gets married. You know what I mean. Yeah, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Almost everybody in the world climbs into their graves married. First act was called the daily life. This act is called love and marriage. There's another act coming after this one. I reckon you can guess what that one's about. So, it's 3 years later, it's 1904. It's July 7th, just after high school commencement. That's the time when most of our young people jump up and get married. As soon as they finish their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's oration, looks like they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time, it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden and Mrs. Webb's here, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines, drenched. All yesterday, over on Main Street, the rain looked like curtains being blown along. Looks like it may begin again any minute. Listen, and here the 5:45 for Boston. And here are Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast, just as though this were an ordinary day. I don't need to point out to the women of my audience that these ladies they see before them, both these ladies, cook 3 meals a day, one of them for 20 years, the other for 40, and no summer vacation. They brought up 2 children apiece, wash, clean the house, and never a nervous breakdown. It's like what one of those Middle West poets said. You gotta love life to have life. And you gotta have life to love life. It's what they call a vicious circle. Here comes Howie Newsom delivering the milk. And there's Cy Crow delivering the papers like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Si. Anything in the papers I ought to know?
Nothing much, except we're losing about the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corner's ever had. George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
He could hit and run bases, too.
Yeah, mighty fine ball player. Whoa, Bessie. I guess I can stop and talk if I've a mind to.
I don't see how we could give up a thing like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Howie.
You're up early.
Seeing if there's anything I can do to prevent a flood. River's been rising all night.
Si Crowell here's all worked up about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir. That's the way it goes. Back in '84, we had a player, Si. Even George Gibbs couldn't touch him. Named Hank Todd. Went down to Maine and become a parson. Wonderful ball player. Howie, how does the weather look to you?
Oh, take bad. Think maybe it'll clear up for good.
Yeah.
Come on, Howie. Think it's going to rain again.
Morning, Miss Gibbs. Rain's so heavy, think maybe it'll clear up.
Oh, certainly hope it will.
How much did you want today?
Oh, I'm going to have a house full of relations, Howie. Looks to me like 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
Yes. 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
Thanks.
My wife says to tell you how we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Gibbs. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she gets there to the wedding.
Yes, she'll be there. She'll be there if she can. Morning, Miss Webb.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, and 2 of cream.
Will it start raining again, Mr. Newsom?
Well, just saying to Miss Gibbs is how it may lighten up. Miss Newsom told me to tell you how we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Webb. No, they will.
Thank you. And thank Mrs. Newsom. And we're counting on seeing you at the wedding.
Yes, Miss Webb, we hope to get there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Come on, the day's come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute. Sit down and drink your coffee.
Well, the groom's up shaving himself. Only there ain't an awful lot to shave. He's whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says, "I do" to the mirror. But it don't sound convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how they'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it he's put warm things on. Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. It'll catch a death of cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Now, don't stop that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest young fellow in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd made a mistake for sure. And when I saw you coming down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. But the only trouble was that I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church marrying a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Here, I've made something for you.
What, Julia Hersey? French toast?
Ain't hard to make. Had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
Yes. I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. That great gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there is nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of father and son is as darned as awkward as...
Oh, mother and daughter is no picnic, let me tell you.
Well, they'll have a lot of troubles, I suppose. But that's none of our business. Everybody's got a right to their own troubles.
Yes. People are meant to live 2 by 2. It ain't natural to be lonesome.
Julia, you know one of the things I was scared of when I married you?
Oh, go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more to last us a few weeks. I was afraid that we'd run out and we'd eat our meals in silence. That's a fact. Well, you and I have been conversing for 20 years without any noticeable barren spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. Ain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Oh, did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No, only day of the year she isn't managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I got the impression she's crying.
Oh, Lord sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come down, get your breakfast!
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
George Gibbs, where are you going?
I'm just stepping across the grass, see my girl.
Now, George, you put on your overshoes. It's raining torrents. You don't go out of this house without you're prepared for it.
Ma, it's just a step.
You'll catch your death cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers. While you're in my house, you live wisely, thank you. Maybe Miss Webb ain't used to callers at 7 in the morning. Here, take a cup of coffee first.
Be back in a minute. Good morning, Mother Webb.
Oh, goodness. You frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute out of the wet, but you know I can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day, not until he sees her in church.
Oh, that's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Morning. George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, George, and you don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How is Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
No wonder. We were up till all hours, sewing and packing. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down here a minute with Mr. Webb and drink this cup of coffee, and I'll go upstairs and see she doesn't come down and surprise you. There's some bacon, too, but don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
Oh, fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on her wedding morning, the girl's head is apt to be full of clothes. And one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes. I never thought of that.
A girl's apt to be a mite nervous on her wedding day.
I wish a fella could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who've built up weddings, my boy. For a while now, the women have it all their own. A man looks pretty small at a wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that the knot is tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Don't misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing, wonderful thing. Don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I'd been to college, and I'd taken a little time to get settled. Oh, but Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily is. Oh, age doesn't have much to do with it, George. Not compared with, other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I gonna say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, Charles, start out early showing who's boss, he said. Best thing to do is to give an order, even if it don't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, her conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her. Oh, and he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, Mr. Webb, I could never...
So, I took the opposite of my father's advice, George, and I have been happy ever since. Let that be a lesson to you, George. Never to ask advice in personal matters. George, you're going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
You're going to raise chickens on your farm?
Uncle Luke's never been much interested, but I
thought...
thought...
A book came into my office the other day, George, on the philo system of raising chickens. I want you to read it. I'm thinking of starting a small way in the backyard. I'm going to put an incubator in the cellar.
Charles Webb, are you talking about that old incubator again? I thought you two'd be talking about things worthwhile.
Well, Myrtle, if you want to give the boy some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with him.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and eat her breakfast. She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, Myrtle, I guess you don't know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the cavemen, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding. Or near it. Now remember that.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Thank you very much. And now, I'm going to have to interrupt again here. You see, we want to know how all this began. This wedding. This plan to spend our lifetime together. I'm awful interested in how big things like that begin. You know how it is. You're 21, you're 22, you make some decisions and wish. You're 70, you've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired lady at your side's eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do things like that begin? George and Emily are going to show you now the conversation they had when they first knew that, well, as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. But before they do it, I want you to try and remember what it was like to have been very young. And if you are very young, I'd like you to try and imagine what it's like to be a bit older. Particularly the days when you're first in love. And you like a person sleepwalking, and you didn't quite see what street you were in, you didn't quite hear everything that was said to you. You were just a bit crazy. Can you remember that, please? Now, they're going to be coming out of the high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of the junior class, and since it's June, that means he's going to be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily's been elected secretary and treasurer. I don't need to tell you how important that is. Yeah. There they are, coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Louise, I've got to go home. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine! Ernestine! Can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Bye, Helen. Bye, Fred.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Thank you. It isn't fun.
Excuse me a minute, Emily. Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, stop practice anyway. And give her some long high ones.
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Goodbye, Lizzie. I'm awfully glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Since you asked me, I might as well say it right out, George. Goodbye, Miss Cochran.
Goodbye, Miss Cochran. What is it?
like the whole change that's come over you in the last year. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. And I used to watch you as you did everything. Because we've been friends so long. And then you began spending all your time at baseball, and you never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not even your own family you didn't. George, it's a fact. You've gotten awful conceited and stuck up, and all the girls say so. May not say so to your face, but that's what they say about you behind your back. It hurts me to hear them say it, but I've got to agree with them a little. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said it, Emily. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fella not to have faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be, too.
Well, I feel it's the other way around. That men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
You might as well know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be perfect as a man, because we girls are more nervous. Oh, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily?
Now I can see it's not the truth at all. I suddenly feel it isn't important anyway.
Emily? Would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Thank you, I would.
Hello, Stu. How are you? Good afternoon, Mrs. Slocum.
Hello, Emily. Hello, George. Why, Emily Webb, what you been crying about?
She got an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. She almost got run over by that hardware store Webb. Everybody says that Tom Hawkins drives like a crazy man.
Well, now, Emily, you just take a drink of water. You look all shook up. I tell you, you gotta look both ways before you cross Main Street nowadays. Gets worse every year. No, what do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No, Emily. Have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream soda. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's 125 horses in Grover's Corners. This minute, I'm talking to you. State Inspector was in here yesterday. And now, they're bringing in these automobiles. Best thing to do is just stay at home. Why, I can remember a time when a dog could go to sleep all day in the middle of Main Street and nothing come along and disturb him. There you are. Enjoy him. Ah, Miss Ellis, what can I do for you?
They're so expensive.
No, don't think of that. We're celebrating our election. And then do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me all the things that ought to be told
George,
me.
please don't think of that. I don't know why I said it. It's not
No,
true.
Emily, you stick to it. I'm glad you spoke to me like you did. But you'll see. I'm going to change so quick, you bet I'm going to change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
Emily, if I go away to State Agriculture College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will, George. I certainly will. It certainly seems like being away 3 years, you get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all New Hampshire, but I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything about our town. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to make my letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture school to be a good farmer.
George.
Yeah. And some of them say it's even a waste of time. That you can get all those things anyway out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start in taking over his farm tomorrow if I could.
Why?
And like you said, being gone all that time. In other places, and meeting other people. Gosh, if anything like that could happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people aren't any better than old ones. I bet they almost never are. Emily, you're as good a friend as I've got. I don't need to go away and meet the people in other towns.
George, maybe it's very important for you to go and learn all that about cattle judging and soils and those things. Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that. That fault in my character. What you said was right. But there was one thing wrong in it. And that's when you said that for a year I wasn't noticing people and you, for instance. Why, you say you were watching me when I did everything. Well, I was doing the same about you all the time. Why, sure. I always thought about you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always got in the way. Why, yesterday, I was standing against the wall waiting for you, but you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
George, that's awful funny. How could I have known that? I thought...
Listen, Emily, agriculture school. I think that once you've found a person you're fond of, I mean, a person who's fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important, too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily? If I do improve and make a big change, would you be? I mean, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes.
Wait just a minute and I'll walk you home. Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan. I'm gonna have to go home and get the money to pay you for this. It'll only take me a minute.
What's that? Why, George Gibbs, you didn't come in here.
But I had reason, Mr. Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch to keep until I come back with the money.
That's all right, George. You keep your watch. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George. Not a day over. Well, anyway, yeah, get over your shock.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan. It was nothing.
Uh-huh.
I'm ready.
Well, now we can get on with the wedding. Things to be said about a wedding. A lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding, naturally, especially not into a wedding here in Grover's Corners, where they're awful plain and short. Now, in this wedding, I play the minister, and that gives me the right to say a few more things about it. For a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You see, some churches say that marriage is a sacrament. I'm not sure I know what that means, but I can guess. Like what Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago. People were made to live 2 by 2. Now, this is a good wedding. But people are so put together that even at a good wedding, there's a lot of confusion way down deep in people's minds. And we thought that ought to be part of our play, too. The real hero of this scene isn't even on the stage. And you all know who that is. It's like what one of those European fellas said. Every child born into the world is nature's attempt at making a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for some time now. We all know nature is interested in quantity, but I think she's interested in quality too. That's why I'm in the ministry. And don't forget all the other witnesses at this wedding. The ancestors. Millions of them. Most of them set out to live 2 by 2 also. Millions of them. Well, that's my sermon. It wasn't very long anyway.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily eating her breakfast as she's done for 17 years. And now she's going off to eat it in someone else's house. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she suddenly said, I can't eat another mouthful, and she put her head down on the table and she cried. Oh, I've got to say it. You know, there's something downright cruel about sending our girls out into marriage this way. I hope some of her girlfriends have told her a thing or two. It's cruel, I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into it blind as a bat myself. The whole world's wrong, that's what's the matter. There they come. Wow!
Look at him, fellas, he's scared to death!
Yeah, George, don't try and look so innocent. We know what you think. Hey, don't disgrace the team, big boy. You just get married. You just get married.
There used to be an awful lot of that kind of thing at weddings in the old days. Rome and after. We're more civilized now. So they say.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, you wanted it.
No, Ma, listen to me.
No, you're a man now.
Listen, Ma, for the last time I asked you. All I want to do is be a fellow.
George, if anyone should hear you, now stop. Why, I'm ashamed of you.
Where's Emily?
Oh, George, you're giving her such a turn.
Cheer up, Ma. I'm getting married.
Oh, let me get my breath a minute.
Now, Ma, you say Thursday nights. Emily and I are coming over for dinner every Thursday night. You'll see. Now, Ma, what you crying for? Come on. You've got to get ready for this.
So alone in my whole life. George over there looking so... I hate him. Wish I were dead.
Emily, now don't get upset.
Papa, I don't want to get married.
Shh, Emily, everything's all
Why
right.
can't I stay for a while just as I am? Let's go away.
No, Emily, now stop and think a minute.
Oh, Papa, don't you remember that you used to say all the time, you used to say all the time, that I was your girl? There must be lots of places we can go to. I'll work for you. I can keep house.
No, you mustn't think such things, Emily. You're nervous, Emily. George, come here a minute. You are marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine fellow. George, I'm giving away my daughter, George. Do you think you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to. I want to try. Emily, I'm going to do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
If you love me, then help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And I mean forever, do you hear? Forever and ever.
George, they're waiting. George, go quick.
George, it's time.
Now you know it'll be all right.
you, George, take this woman, Emily. Be your wedded wife.
Perfectly lovely wedding. Loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I do love a good wedding, don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
So long as you both shall live.
I do.
To you, Emily.
Don't know when I've seen such a lovely wedding.
Be your wedded
But I always cry. Don't know why it is, but I always cry. Oh, I just like to see young people happy. Don't you? Oh, I think it's lovely.
So long as you both shall live.
I do.
A ring, George. I married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. M marries N. Millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, Sunday afternoon driving the Ford, first rheumatism, grandchildren, second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times. It's in here. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's wedding march.
Aren't they a lovely couple? Oh, I've never been to such a nice wedding. I'm sure they'll be happy. I always say happiness. That's the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
That's all the second act, folks. We're going to take a short pause. You can stand up and talk with each other. This time 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer, 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers coming into town in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors at night now. Ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and the moon and the stars. Come up here on a fine afternoon, you can see range on range of hills. Awful blue they are, up by Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee. And if you got a glass, further up you can see the White Mountains and Mount Washington where Conway and North Conway are. And of course, it's our favorite mountain, Monadnock. Right there. And all the towns that lie about it. Jaffrey, East Jaffrey, Peterborough, Dublin, and there, right a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes, mighty pretty spot, this. Mountain laurel, lilac. I often wonder why people want to be buried in Brooklyn or Woodlawn when they could just as soon pass the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over there are the old stones. 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people that come a long ways to be independent. Some of us people walk around there and laugh at funny words on the tombstones. That doesn't do any harm. Genealogists come up from Boston, get paid by city people to look up their ancestors. They want to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution or of the Mayflower. Well, I guess that doesn't do any harm either. Whenever you come near the human race, there's layers and layers of nonsense. Over there are some Civil War veterans. Iron flags on the graves. The Hampshire boys had the notion the Union ought to be kept together, though they'd never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they went and died about it. And now this here is the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs. And, let me see, Mr. Stimson, the organist at the Congregational Church, and Mrs. Solmes, who enjoyed the wedding, so you remember. Oh, and a lot of others. There's Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst while he was on a Boy Scout trip at Crawford Lodge. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief have brought their relatives up to this hill. We all know how it is. And time and sunny days and rainy days, snow. We're all glad that they're in a beautiful place and that we're coming up here ourselves when our fit's over. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. Everybody knows in their bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years. But you'd be surprised how people are always losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being. Now, you know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. Gradually they lose hold of the earth and the ambitions they had and the pleasures they had and the things they suffered and the people that they loved. They get weaned away from the earth. That's the way I put it. Weaned away. And to stay here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out. And all that time they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting. They're waiting for something that they feel is coming. Something important. Something great. Aren't they waiting for the eternal part of them to come out clear? Now, some of the things they're going to say maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser. All these terribly important things kind of grow pale around here. And what's left when memory is gone? And your identity, Mrs. Smith. There are some living people, too. That's Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising the new made grave. And here comes the Grover's Corners boy that left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Gracious sakes alive, of all people. I should have known you'd be back for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe. But I was in the East when I got the news of my cousin's death. So I thought I'd combine things a little and come and see the old home. You look well.
Yes, can't complain. Very sad, our journey today, Samuel.
Yes.
Yes. I always say I hate to supervise when a young person is taken. They'll be here in a few minutes now. I had to come here early. My son's supervising at the home.
Old Farmer McCarty. I used to do chores for him after school. He had the lumbago.
Yes, we brought Farmer McCarty here a number of years ago now.
Why, this is my Aunt Julia. I'd forgotten that she... Of course.
Yes, Doc Gibbs lost his wife 2-3 years ago, about this time. And today's another pretty bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig. I'm always uncomfortable when they're around. Simon.
Do they write their own verses much, Joe?
No, not usual. Mostly the bereaved pick a verse.
Doesn't sound like Aunt Julia. There aren't many of those Hersey sisters left now. Let me see, where are... I wanted to look at my mother's and father's.
Over there, with the Craigs, Avenue F.
He was organist at church, wasn't he? Drank a lot, we used to say.
Nobody was supposed to know about it. He'd seen a peck of trouble. Took his own life, you know.
Oh, did he?
Hung himself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course it got around. He chose his own epitaph. You can see it there. It ain't a verse, exactly.
Why, it's just some notes of music. What is it?
Oh, I wouldn't know. It was wrote up in the Boston paper at the time.
Joe, what did she die of?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, didn't you know? Had some trouble bringing a baby into this world. 'Twas her second, though. There's a little boy, about 4 years old.
The grave's going to be over there?
Yes, there ain't much more room over here among the Gibbses, so they're opening up a whole new Gibbs section over by Avenue B. You'll excuse me now. I see they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law. Emily Webb.
Well, I declare. The road up here must have been awful muddy.
Rain will do a lot of good.
Yeah. Don't look like it'll last long.
What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth. I'd forgotten all about that. My, wasn't life awful and wonderful.
Wonderful, was it?
Son, now remember.
I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember her reading a class poem at graduation exercises. Oh, Emily was one of the brightest girls ever graduated from high school. I've heard Principal Wilkins say so, time after time. I called on them at their new farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm.
It was on the same road we lived on.
Yep, right, smart farm.
I always liked that hymn. I was hoping they'd sing a hymn.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Miss Gibbs.
Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily.
Hello. It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just rest yourself.
Seems like thousands and thousands of years since I remembered that was my favorite hymn. Wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. How do you do, Mr. Stimson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs. George and I have made that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and a great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought that out of the money you left us.
I did.
Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us. Why, it was over $350.
Yes, Emily.
Well, there's a patent device on the drinking fountain so that it never overflows, Mother Gibbs. And it never sinks below a certain mark they have there. It's fine. Won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. A lot of people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy is spending the day at Mrs. Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
Is he?
Yes, he loves it there. Oh, Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford, too. Never gives any trouble. I don't drive, though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them. How long does it...
Shh, dear. Just wait and be patient.
No. Look, they're finished. going. Look. Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, Mother Gibbs, I never realized before how troubled and how in the dark live persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are. Troubled.
Little cooler than 'twas.
Yes. That rain cooled it off a little.
Those northeast winds always do the same thing, don't they?
Yeah. If it isn't rain, it's a 3-day flow.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there again, into living. Feel it. I know it. Well, just then for a minute, I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute, I was there. And my baby was on my lap as plain as day.
Yes. Of course, you can.
I can go back there and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes. Some have tried. But they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, don't. It isn't what you think it be.
But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew that I loved George. Why should that be painful?
You not only live it, but you watch yourself live in it.
Yes.
And as you watch it, you see the thing that they down there never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterward.
But is that painful? Why?
That's not the only reason you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that our life is to forget all that and think only of what's ahead and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I have.
Oh, Emily, it isn't wise. Really, it isn't.
But it's something I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No! At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day of your life. It will be important enough.
And it can't be since I was married, or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right. It's February 11th, 1899. It's a Tuesday. You want any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn. You remember it had been snowing for several days, but it had stopped the night before and they had begun to clear the roads. The sun is coming up.
Here's Main Street. Well, that's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, this is 1899. That was 14 years ago.
That's the town I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes. Your mother will be coming down in a minute to fix breakfast.
Will she?
And you remember your father'd been away for several days. He came home on the early morning train.
Oh.
He'd gone back to his old college to give a speech in Western New York at Clinton.
Look, there's Harry Gisselman. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Come on, Bessie! Bessie! Morning, dear! Morning, Holly! You're up early. Been rescuing a party darn near froze to death. Down by Polish Town there. Got drunk and lay on the snowdrifts. Thought he was in bed when I shook him.
Well, there's Joe Crow.
Good morning, Miss Webb.
Joe.
Good morning, Howie.
Joe.
Children, Wally, Emily, time to get up.
Mom, I'm here. How young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young.
You can come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Oh, good morning, Mr. Newsom. Ooh, it's cold.
10 below by my barn, Miss Webb.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Yeah. Come on, Bessie. Get here.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special on the dresser there. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yeah, just been back to my old college in New York State. Been any trouble here?
Well, I was called up this morning to rescue a Polish fella. Darn near froze to death he was.
Oh, we must get it in the paper.
Try much.
Papa.
Good morning, Mother.
How do you go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes, can't think of anything that's happened special. Been right cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below over to his barn.
Oh, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I noticed. Coffee's ready when you want it. Oh, Charles, don't forget. It's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something? Oh.
Yes, I've got something right here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You can see her at breakfast. She's slowing up her ears. Hurry up, children. It's 7 o'clock. Now I don't want to call you again.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all, everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear. A very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There are some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mommy, you shouldn't have. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a good, strong girl. That and the blue papers from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you can guess who brought the postcard album. I found it on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs. Must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right nice of him.
George, I'd forgotten that.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll help keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama, just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead, too. Mama, his appendix burst on the camping trip up to North Conway. We felt just terrible about it, don't you remember? But just for a moment now, we're all together. Just for a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That and the yellow paper, something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it now, and I thought you'd like it.
This is from you. Oh, Mama, it's just lovely, and it's just what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Well, I hoped you'd like it. Hunted all over. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I had to send all the way to Boston. Wally has something for you, too. He makes it manual training class, and he's very proud of it. Be sure you make a big fuss about it. Oh, your father has a surprise for you, too. I don't know what it is myself. Oh, shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on and we never noticed. Take me back. Up the hill to my grave. But first, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mom and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking. My butternut tree. Mama's sunflowers. Food. Coffee. New iron dresses and hot baths. And sleeping. And waking up. Oh, Earth. You're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
No. The saints and poets, maybe, they do stop.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are, just blind people.
Look, it's clear enough. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson, I should have listened to them.
Yes. Now you know. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. To move around in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To be always at the mercy of some self-centered passion or another. Now you know. That's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Blindness and ignorance.
Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
My boy Joe was a sailor. Knew 'em all. He'd sit on the porch evenings and tell 'em all by name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
A star is mighty good company.
Yes, yes, it is.
Here's one of them coming.
That's funny. There's no time for one of them to be here.
Goodness sakes. Mother Gibbs, it's George.
Shh, dear. Just rest yourself.
It's George.
And my boy Joel, who knew the stars, he used to say it took millions of years for that little speck of light to get down to the earth. Don't see why the body can believe it, but that's what he used to say. Millions a year.
Goodness. Ain't no way to behave. He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs,
Yes, Emily.
they don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. A few lights on in the town. Geordie Hawkins down at the depot's just watched the Albany train go by. And over at the livery stable, somebody's sitting up and talking. Yep. It's clear now. There, the stars. Doing their old crisscross journeys in the sky. Scholars ain't settled the matter yet, but they seem to think there are no living beings up there. Just chalk or fire. Only this one's straining away. Straining away all the time to make something of itself. Only the strain's so bad that every 16 hours, everybody lies down to get a rest. It's 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. You get a good rest, too. Good night.